My nephew leaned into my ear and whispered, "They already picked where you're gonna be buried." I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't give him the satisfaction. At 75, you learn how to keep your face calm while your chest caves in. I slowly turned my head and looked at him. "Don't joke like that, Kyle." He smiled, that thin, tight smile that never reaches the eyes. "I'm not joking, Aunt June. I'm being realistic." Realistic. That word people use right before they take something from you. We stood in my kitchen. The same kitchen my late husband and I built with our own hands 42 years ago. The floor still creaked in the same spots. The cabinets still leaned slightly to the left. Everything in this room remembered us, even if Kyle didn't. Behind him, his wife Amanda pretended to scroll on her phone. She never touched anything directly, always with napkins or fingertips, like my house might infect her. Kyle shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. "We've been talking," he said. "It's time you think about moving into assisted living. This place is too big. Too much responsibility." I picked up the kettle just to give my hands something steady to do. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "I've lived here longer than you've been alive." He hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. "And the land out back," he added quickly, "is getting hard to manage." There it was. Not my health. Not my safety. My land. Something cold slid down my spine. After they left, the house felt quieter than usual. Too quiet. Like it was holding its breath. I walked into the study and opened the drawer I hadn't touched since my husband passed. Inside were old deeds, folded maps, brittle envelopes, and a handwritten note in his familiar script. "For June only. Promise me she keeps it." My hands started to shake. Because Kyle didn't just want to move me. He wanted what I was standing on. And he had no idea what my husband had already put in place. Kyle thought he was planning my future. But the truth is he was already planning my absence. And the next morning, I found proof. By morning, someone had already been walking my property. I could see the fresh tire tracks cutting through the dirt behind my fence. Not the mailman. Not my neighbor. Someone new. I stood at my kitchen window holding my coffee, feeling something tighten in my chest that had nothing to do with age. Later that morning, my neighbor Carol stopped by with a jar of blackberry jam. "You okay?" she asked, squinting at me. "Some guy was asking about your acreage yesterday." I forced a smile. "What kind of guy?" "City shoes," she said. "Didn't belong out here." That afternoon, Amanda came back alone. She stood in my living room, folding her hands like she was delivering condolences. "Kyle's just worried about you," she said softly. "Living alone at your age can be dangerous." Dangerous. Funny how people only worry once there's something to gain. "I'm not leaving," I said. She sighed like I'd disappointed her. "Then maybe you could at least sign temporary management papers. Just to help Kyle handle things." "Handle what?" I asked. "The property," she said too quickly. I looked straight at her. "My husband left that land to me." Her smile tightened. "Well, eventually, Kyle." "No," I said. "Not eventually. Not ever." Her eyes flickered, fear maybe then irritation. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." "No. Iraplia. You're making it clearer." After she left, I went back into the study and reread my husband's note, and the older deeds hidden beneath it. That's when I found the envelope sealed with wax. Inside was a letter. "If anyone ever pressures you about the land, take this to William Harper. He knows what to do." I whispered, "All right, love. I'm listening." Because now I knew. Kyle wasn't worrying about my future. He was positioning himself for what he thought came after me. The next morning, I drove 40 minutes to meet the one man my husband trusted. And what he told me changed everything. The lawyer didn't even let me finish my story before he leaned forward and said, "June, your nephew doesn't own a single inch of your land." That sentence hit me harder than anything Kyle had said. His name was William Harper, same as in my husband's letter. Older now, slower maybe, but his eyes were still sharp as broken glass. He laid my papers out across his desk. "Your husband transferred full ownership to you years ago. No shared rights. No future claims. No loopholes. So Kyle can't sell it." I asked. Not even talk about selling it. My chest loosened for the first time in weeks. Then Harper said something that made my stomach drop. But I will tell you this, someone's already been trying to position themselves to take control. I swallowed. Kyle. He nodded once. He's been asking about zoning changes and development potential. Just like Carol said. Harper slid a document toward me. We can lock this down completely. A private trust. Your rules. Your successor. I didn't hesitate. Do it. Because Kyle thought he was planning quietly. But he was already late. By the time I drove home, Kyle was already walking into my house uninvited. Kyle didn't knock. He opened my front door like it belonged to him. Aunt June, we need to talk, he said, stepping inside. He froze when he saw the papers spread across my kitchen table. What's all this? My protection, I said calmly. You shouldn't be handling legal stuff alone, he snapped. You'll sign the wrong thing. I already signed the right thing. He scoffed. This land is becoming a liability. Developers are waiting. There it is, I said. You finally admitted it. He went quiet. Kyle, I continued. You whispered about my grave before you ever asked how I was feeling. His jaw clenched. You're blocking your own family's future, he said. No. Iraplia. I'm blocking your shortcut. I slid the trust document toward him. Read the title. His face drained of color. Private Irrevocable Trust, Owner, June Miller. This ends your plans, I said. He stared at the page like it had betrayed him. You can't do this. I already did. He backed toward the door, voice tight. I'll be back tomorrow. I didn't blink. No, you won't. The next day, Kyle brought investors onto my land. And that's when I decided to show up. I looked out my kitchen window and saw 3 unfamiliar cars parked along my fence. And Kyle, standing with them, pointing at my land like it already belonged to him. My hands went cold. He wasn't asking. He wasn't waiting. He was selling. I grabbed my coat and walked out back. By the time I reached the rise overlooking the acreage, Kyle was already mid-speech. Perfect elevation, minimal grading, he said, gesturing wide. We can break ground within months. One of the men asked, what about the owner? Kyle barely hesitated. She'll be moving soon. That's when I stepped forward. I'm right here. All of them turned. Kyle's face went pale. These men don't belong on my land, I said calmly. And neither do your plans. One investor cleared his throat. Ma'am, are you the legal owner? Yes, I said. And here's the proof. I handed over the trust paperwork. The men read silently. Then one of them shook his head. Without control of the property, we can't proceed. They left, without even shaking Kyle's hand. He stood there, breathing hard, staring at the dirt he thought he already owned. That night, Kyle came back to my house, not confident anymore, but desperate. Kyle didn't yell when he came back. That's how I knew he was scared. He stood in my kitchen and said quietly, You blindsided me. No, Iraplia. You underestimated me. He sat down slowly. I thought I'd manage everything when you were gone. I'm not gone, I said. He swallowed. I was just preparing. For what? I asked. He didn't answer because we both knew. I slid the revocation papers toward him. You no longer have access to my finances, my property, or my decisions. He stared at the pages like a verdict. What am I supposed to do now? Live your own life, I said. Not mine. He stood up slowly and walked out. And for the first time in weeks, the house felt peaceful again. But the story wasn't over, because I still had one final decision to make about who would inherit my land. The person who changed everything wasn't a lawyer. It wasn't Kyle. It was the one family member who still showed up without wanting anything. Her name is Rachel. She called me that morning and said, Aunt June, I'm in town. Can I stop by? No reason. No agenda. Just love. She walked in carrying a paper bag full of warm pastries, and that familiar soft smile. She hugged me gently. The kind of hug you give someone you actually care about, not someone you're sizing up. You look tired, she said. I've been thinking, I replied. She studied my face. Is Uncle Kyle giving you trouble? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I poured us coffee. He's trying to take the land, I finally said. Her jaw tightened. I knew it. She leaned forward. He's been talking to developers for months. Mom warned me but said not to stir anything up. That's when it hit me. Everyone saw what Kyle was doing. They just didn't want to confront it. Rachel reached across the table and took my hand. You don't have to let him push you, she said. And something settled inside me. This was the person who deserved what my husband built. Not the one who hunted it, but the one who respected it. That afternoon, I made a decision that would officially remove Kyle from my future forever. I walked back into William Harper's office with a name already chosen. Who do you want as your successor? He asked. Rachel, I said without hesitation. He smiled. A good choice. We changed the trust. Signed new protections. Locked everything in. No loopholes. No arguments. No future manipulation. Rachel would inherit the land. Not for profit, but for preservation. When I got home, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Kyle. 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 I finally answered. You really did it, didn't you? He snapped. Yes, I said calmly. You cut me out. No. Ikurrakta. You cut yourself out. He went quiet. You should have waited, he muttered. For what? I asked. For you to finish selling my life? He hung up. And that was the last time he ever tried to control me. But a few weeks later, Kyle made one final move, and it forced me to respond publicly. Kyle didn't come to my house this time. He came to my reputation. I found out through a neighbor who said, June, Kyle's been telling people you're not in your right mind. That he was handling my affairs. That I was confused. That I needed help. He was trying to legally corner me by socially isolating me. So I did something he never expected. I showed up. At the next town meeting, I walked in with my cane, my spine straight, and my paperwork tucked under my arm. Kyle froze when he saw me. I waited for public comment. Then I stood. My name is June Miller, I said. And I am the legal owner of my land. No one manages me. No one speaks for me. I laid my trust paperwork on the podium. If anyone has been told otherwise, you were lied to. The room went silent. Kyle stared at the floor. He didn't look powerful anymore. He looked exposed. But the story didn't end with him embarrassed. It ended with him losing something far bigger. Kyle thought he was taking my future. What he really tried to take was my ending. For weeks after the town meeting, my phone stayed quiet. No calls. No surprise visits. No messages disguised as concern. It was like the world had finally stopped pulling on me from all directions at once. The silence wasn't lonely, it was clean. Rachel started coming over every Sunday. Not to check on me. Not to manage me. Not to measure my worth. Just to be with me. We'd walk the fence line together, slow and steady. She'd listen when I told her stories about her great-uncle hammering boards until sunset. About how the blackberry bushes weren't supposed to grow there but did anyway. About the apple tree we planted that never bore fruit, but never died either. This place feels alive, she once said. That's because it is, I told her. And now it knows who's staying. One afternoon she asked quietly, do you ever regret cutting Kyle off? I looked out across the land that had held every version of me. Young wife, grieving widow, tired woman, strong woman, and shook my head. I regret trusting him longer than I should have. Because the truth is, this land was never an inheritance. It was a responsibility. A living thing. A promise my husband made. And now one I'm keeping. Kyle wanted to bury me. Instead, I buried his entitlement. And in doing that, I finally got my peace back. If this story touched you, moved you, or reminded you that your voice still matters, no matter your age, please tap like, subscribe to this channel, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. You're never too old to protect what you built. You're never too small to stand your ground. And your story deserves to be told. Thank you for being here.